Hey, what's going on YouTube? Social media has been absolutely on fire the past 48 hours after the announcement of the 6th generation of Glock pistols. The first believable report, outside of months of unsubstantiated speculation, actually came from a leak on a Brazilian Instagram page. When those feature sheets showed up, the Glock community at large, myself included, hoped against hope they were fake or AI generated because we genuinely wanted more than just an incremental update. Well, 24 hours later, distributors quietly updated their listings to include the Gen 6, and then Glock's own social media dropped a formal announcement, which had even fewer changes than the informal leak. So, yes, Brazil was wrong about everything, except that Gen 6 was real. So, what is Gen 6 actually bringing to the table? I'm not one of the cool kids who got their hands on a T&E model ahead of time, so everything here is based on what Glock themselves have stated, plus reports from reviewers who've shot the pre-release guns. Glock is launching with 3 models, the 17, 19, and 45. The Gen 6 17 is basically the Gen 5 47 with a shortened dust cover, shortened recoil spring channel, and a 45 19X style frame with a 17 slide. The first immediately noticeable change to the frame is a shark skin-like grip texture. It looks like it wants to exfoliate you down to the bone, but who knows until you actually hold one. More importantly, Glock added a wider palm swell so it doesn't feel like you're gripping a 2x4. The amount of swell was determined by Glock 3D scanning all of their employees' hands to find the optimum one size fits most. This alone is already being applauded because people have been asking Glock to do this since the dawn of internet forums. The integrated beaver tail will be polarizing, but the deeper trigger guard undercut should make just about everyone happy. The rumor is that the thin trigger guard section is metal reinforced because it definitely looks fragile if it isn't. Glock also added an enlarged border around the slide stop lever to reduce accidental activation and added subtle offhand thumb rests. Predictably, this is also polarizing. Glock fans are arguing about it already. The trigger face is noticeably flatter, which most shooters will either like or be indifferent about, but the pull weight, break, and reset are all but unchanged from the Gen 5 trigger characteristics. This is disappointing given Glock is competing against the VP9, PPQ/PDP, and even the CZ-P10C, guns with genuinely excellent striker fire triggers. Glock reverted to using a single spring recoil assembly, which is a reversion to the Gen 3 style instead of the dual spring Gen 4 and Gen 5 style. The reason for this is that Glock is prioritizing action tuning for the 9mm as their caliber line is more streamlined now compared to when their clients had more diverse caliber set needs, including 40 Smith & Wesson. The barrel has incremental geometry improvements and will not be compatible with the Gen 5 slides. The slide serrations are slightly deeper cut. Another game changer is the Optic mounting system. Everyone can agree that mounting plates are unequivocally bad and direct mill is the way to go, and Glock has done just that. The slides at launch are factory cut for Delta Point Pro or RMR footprints with changeable spacer plates to account for the geometry differences of which Optic footprint currently is mounted. According to Glock, these polymer plates are not mechanically involved in securing the Optic in any way, and there is an off chance you don't even need them if the Optic is bedded well. Think of these plates as oversized polymer washers, with polymer being an excellent material for shock absorption. There's no word yet on an acro-compatible mount, which is disappointing because months worth of rumors about Gen 6 has spoken of either a Kowa-style slide or direct milling for acro bases. There's no loaded chamber indicator to speak of, but the extractor looks different because it is modified to allow such a low mount for the optics because too deep milling or too deep screwing would interfere with extraction. This is already a highly praised upgrade, much like the Shadow Systems Glock clones already have. Now let's talk about what Gen 6 didn't bring. There is no drop-in fire control unit that allows for interchangeable frames a la the SIG P250/320 or the Ruger RXM. Again, this was rumored for months but didn't come to fruition. The best we have are interchangeable backstraps like we already have, and of course the included sights are still polymer. Nobody should be surprised that Gen 6 was right around the corner given that the Gen 5 is already 8 years old now, but what is genuinely surprising to me is the proximity to which the Gen 6 is launching after the Victor models. If you didn't already know about this, aka meaning you haven't opened any firearms related social media in the past 3 months, Glock was pending lawsuits from almost half the states over the ease of modification of dropping in full auto modifications, aka switches. The Gen 5 Victor models modified the slide geometry for the existing switches to not be able to work. Victor is actually a fitting designation as the letter V is Roman numeral for 5. And of course, the Victor models fixed everything as no one has been able to convert them. It's insane how effective felony charges are at discouraging people. Provided you didn't buy at panic prices, I would not be upset over having recently purchased a Gen 5 non-Victor, because unless you actually handle Gen 6, you have no idea if you'll like it or not. Also, it's not a horrible idea to let others beta test the Gen 6 at scale so you can get one of the later batch models that Glock performed a stealth title update on to improve performance and reliability. I would, however, be absolutely tilted after buying a Victor model. There are fewer than 3 months in between the launches of the Victor and Gen 6, which is releasing on January 20th at the same MSRP as the Gen 5. With this limited release window, you get limited support if you got a V. Now, the Victor models were not an impulse decision by Glock. They were probably in works for literally years, as Glock has had to deal with lawsuits for all but as long. And these were not just lawsuits you could throw money at to make go away. Glock legitimately risked losing contracts, which is more than the smooth-brained, but they capitulated takes would have you believe. So as I've not even shot a Glock Gen 6 yet, what is actually the point of my video besides just a news announcement? What do I have to offer the community with this video? I primarily want to ask, why not just release the Gen 6 in place of the Gen Victor besides Malibu Stacying your existing customers? Anyways, what do you think about what we already know about the Gen 6?